backwards. So I'm going to talk to you about our When We Trial movement. And Sue brought up some of the stats just now, but basically Black women have a 41% higher mortality rate than white women. Black breast cancer survivors like me have a 71% higher relative risk of death than white women of breast cancer. Black women under the age of 35 get breast cancer at twice the rate of white women and die at 3 times the rate. These are all horrible numbers, well before they could get their first mammogram at age 40. And Black women have a 39% higher recurrence rate than white women. And why is this happening? Why are these numbers so horrible? And a lot of it has to do with the medications, the treatment options that we have. So we went digging in history, we went back like 20 and 30 years to see how many Black women participated in the clinical trials for the standard of care drugs, right? So for like what we take, TAC, adriamycin, the red devil, all the drugs that we all talk about as survivors. And guess what? There were no Black women in those trials. So guess what? The drugs don't work. The drugs aren't working for us. So if you think about it, for every 100 white women that die of breast cancer, 141 Black women die of breast cancer. Crazy. And so a lot of it has to do with, there are a lot of, psychosocial factors like access to care and late stage diagnoses and all these things. And also the fact that we get triple negative at 3 times the rate of white women, but the drugs aren't working. Like for me, my story is, I was diagnosed with stage 3A triple negative. I did a double mastectomy. Then I did the TAC, 6 rounds of chemo, aggressive chemo, the red devil included. Then I did 6 weeks of radiation, and almost to the day of my diagnosis, my cancer came back on my chest wall. And my doctor said, okay, Ricky, you are now metastatic. You have 2 years to live, get your affairs in order. And I was like, I can't really die right now because I have a daughter at Dartmouth. I've got to pay for her tuition. So me, you, and God, and some drugs or something have got to work this out. And I called the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation at the time. This was the third thing on Google about TNBC. The other 2 said you're going to die. And they led me to a doctor at Emory, who was one of maybe 5 or 6 doctors in the country that really were exploring triple negative. And she put me on 2 drugs that were experimental at the time, which are now standard of care, carboplatin and gemcitabine. And I'm still here 10 years later. So I didn't die. And I know that God left me here to do this work as an advocate. And I've been an advocate ever since. But I had to try experimental drugs to save my life. And so we know that we need to do more work to advance the science. We also know, as we said earlier, that that really even now we only have 3% participation in clinical trials, and that is 0. That's nothing, right? So we have a lot of work to do to really elevate this conversation with Black women and advance the trials. And we know there were a lot of things in place that created fear for Black women, the earned medical mistrust of the medical system, which, you've heard of Henrietta Lacks, and the syphilis study. Black people have been historically, not treated well in research. So that's on the table to contend with. We also know there's just a lot of fear about just having cancer, right? And being treated like a guinea pig. And so, but I knew it had to be deeper than that. So last year we embarked upon a research study to understand the emotional barriers to clinical trial hesitation and what is driving the fear that Black women have about clinical research. And I'm a marketing person, I'm not a doctor or scientist, but I wanted to understand like what was driving the fear. And what we learned was we did 48 interviews with Black breasties, some family members, and some people who were predisposed to breast cancer risk. And then we did 250 quant study with 150 women to understand the same kind of factors. And we tested a bunch of messaging to see what is not working, what's working about how we're talking about clinical trials, right? So we learned some interesting things. The most compelling thing that we learned was we don't trust doctors, we don't trust clinicians, we don't trust pharmaceutical companies. Guess who we trust? We trust other breasties. And so the Breastie Club is not one that you want to be in, but guess what? When you're in it, it's unconditional love and trust, right? And so what we found was, and what we heard from our breasties was that breasties were telling other breasties, oh girl, don't do a clinical trial. You're going to get the sugar pill and die. And I was like, oh my God, we got bad things going on, because if the breasties have the voice of trust and they're spreading around mistruths and misunderstandings and bad information, then our community is getting bad information. And so we proceeded to test a bunch of concepts to help them understand it better. And when we talked to them about the basics of what does standard of care mean, that you're not going to get a sugar pill in breast cancer research and cancer research. What is it, that you do get better care in a trial, that, that Advil you took last week, well, guess what? It was in a clinical trial. That Tylenol you gave your baby was in a clinical trial. That antibiotic you gave your dog was in a clinical trial. When we started to break it down in really simple messages, just educating them about the fundamentals of how the science works and what it takes to participate, and the better care that you're going to get, and talk about just the basics, they were convinced this is a good thing. I understand it. I get it now. But guess what? It has to come from the voice of a breastie, and it has to be very easy to understand and also delivered with a lot of love. So we took all of the learnings that we did and we built whenwetrial.org. We built our movement, we built the communication, really reflecting the concepts and the messaging that worked in our research that helped people understand it better and motivated them to participate in trials. So we launched the movement on January 26th, and our first outreach was we were so blessed to get funding from some really important pharma partners and really help us do this work. And we're so excited. And Merck is one of our funders too, Sue. So we appreciate that company and so many other pharma companies that are really helping us do this work, because we're so blessed to have it and so appreciative and grateful. But we learned that, but we basically have now, we started out reaching out on a digital basis with a digital ad campaign to breasties. And, believe it or not, Black breasties are pretty easy to find, because we call them the choir. They're in the choir, right? They're on Facebook, they're on Instagram, they're on Twitter, they're in Facebook groups, on different sort of online support groups. And so we put our message out to them and said, here are the basics. Here's what you need to know. And we just looked at our message bank yesterday. Just for the last few weeks, we've gotten like 70 messages from breasties, which is so cool to be able to talk to women who had questions and are asking questions and want to know more and want to engage in the movement. We also, in the last month, had 200 women sign up for trials. We put 4 different trial portals on our website that make it easier to access a trial, and so it's working. So last week we actually started our radio campaign, and I'll play the ad for you in a few minutes. And so now, we've talked to our breasties and gotten them comfortable. We still have a lot more work to do. We now are reaching out to young women, because Black families don't talk about health. We don't talk about health until grandpa has to get his leg amputated from diabetes, or Auntie Elizabeth has the C word, right? Or somebody died or is in hospice, right? So we're trying to bring these conversations to the kitchen table in Black families. And so we really believe that young women are going to be a good voice into the family, into the community. And so we have an HBCU internship program. We have right now 11 interns who are talking about when we trial, talking about clinical trials. Actually, 3 of them are working with our ad agency to put together a community roadshow, a tour in 10 cities to talk about our movement. But they're bringing a voice. And so our radio campaign is actually reaching out. We're on iHeart radio stations in 10 cities, reaching out to young Black women to spread this word, get the message across, because we know that we can't, we can't really talk about clinical trials when you're sick, when you're metastatic, or when when something's really bad. We have to bring it to Black families and talk about it well before you need one, well before you're sick. So really, overall, our communication is really to acknowledge the mistrust, acknowledge what is in their head already, and say, we know about Henrietta Lacks, we know about the Syphilis Project, but all these rules and laws were put in place to protect you from that, and then dispel the myths. No, there isn't a sugar pill in cancer research. No, there is no placebo drug. You're going to get standard of care. You're going to be taken care of, and you're going to get better care with more scans and more closer treatment, more supervision from doctors. And really also, empower patients to advocate for themselves. We also learned from our research that guess what? Black doctors are not, doctors are not inviting Black patients to do clinical trials. They're not inviting them. And so, that's our next piece of research. We want to find out why that is, but they're not. So we really have to fight for ourselves and fight for and ask for the trials. So a lot of our education within the website is to teach breasties what to ask for, how to ask the questions, and how to bring this important topic up with their doctors and say, hold on, I want a trial. Is there a trial for me that's going to help me? Is there something that I should be doing differently? I'll give you an example. We had a breastie call a couple of weeks ago, and she 37 years old, got breast cancer at 36, last June was diagnosed, 3 babies under 7. And her doctor, she was in the DC area, a very, big city where there should be good care. And the doctor put her on standard of care drugs, the Red Devil and carboplatin and all the stuff that we have all taken. And then she had a double mastectomy about 3 weeks ago. And through this process, she started to hear about Keytruda, Merck's drug. So Keytruda is the first drug that we have for early stage triple negative. And it's a godsend, it's doing wonders. And so she called me and said, well, couldn't I have taken Keytruda? I'm like, yeah, you should have taken Keytruda. It's a great drug. And her doctor never told her about it. So she went to the doctor and said, well, why didn't you tell me about Keytruda? Why didn't you tell me about the trials that are going on for other things like Trodelvy, all those other great drugs for triple negative? And the doctor said, well, he showed her a piece of paper and said, it wasn't on my list. And I just shoot myself in the head. Wow. But that's what's happening to these Black patients. They're not being treated, and they're not being treated differently. And there's also a body of research now that basically shows that Black breast cancer is a different breast cancer, that we have a different cancer from both a biological basis, a molecular basis, a genetic basis, and the cancer cells are different. We need different drugs. So we have to do this work. The only way to get different drugs is to get into clinical trials. It's a matter of life and death for Black women. It is no joke. And it's the only way we're going to get rid of these horrible, horrible statistics. So we're going loud. We're doing a radio campaign, and we're about to do a roadshow in 10 cities across the country and we're going to be in, let me see if I can remember the cities. Of course, I always have this question. LA, Chicago, Atlanta, Raleigh, Durham, DC, Baltimore, Philadelphia, and I'll figure out the ones I'm missing. But we're really trying to go into the community because we want this message to be everywhere, that Black women live, work, play, and pray. And so instead of trying to impose ourselves on the community, we want to be organic in our community outreach. So we're basically going to organizations that are already doing events, that are doing health fairs at churches, that are doing activities for Mother's Day, like a Mother's Day lunch in the church we're doing in Atlanta. And we're basically reaching out and saying, can we be a part of your event? And we're bringing a little cash to the table. We'll help you subsidize an event. We'll help pay for some of your expenses. But can we be a part of your event that you're already doing in the community with your people, with your energy, with your outreach, so that we really become a part of the fabric of the community as opposed to imposing yet another thing on them about health. And hopefully the message will resonate in a different way because it's brought to them by people who they love. And this is a loving message. This is a love message. This is a love campaign. This is a love movement. It's about, we need to care more about ourselves. We need to get people to care more about us. And my partner in crime on my show, the doctor is Dr. Mo. And the first thing that she says to a new patient is, I'm going to treat you like family. I'm going to treat you like how I would treat my family, my mom, my sister, my auntie, my cousin. And so to me, she made me help us form, that's our definition of health equity. It's a doctor treats a patient how they would treat their mom, their sister, their loved one, their person. And so we're trying to bring that message. And that's what we said, when our breastie told us about the Keytruda incident. I said, you go back to that doctor and said, would you have given Keytruda to your mom or to your daughter? but doctors need to understand that Black breast cancer is different and they need to treat their patients different. And frankly, our patients have to educate the doctors. I tell patients, an educated patient makes for a better doctor. And right now we know that they're not getting the attention they deserve and the care that they deserve. So we have to ask for it. We have to ask for it. So I'm gonna just pull up our radio ad so you can hear it. Give me just a second here.
That's great, Ricky. And then, we actually have a question here from Teresa. She had asked, do we need to live near the trial to be eligible? Do I need to not be on? Oh boy. So, because, I don't know. I can't pronounce.
That's Trodelvy. So it's because it's SAC.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it, but that's sacituzumab. Thank you. It's really hard.
Thank you.
That's Trodelvy. Yeah, that's Trodelvy. One of the coolest things that's happening now is that companies are starting to work together. We have so many silos with the pharma companies, even with our breast cancer advocacy community. I want everybody to be in the same sandbox, building the same sandcastle to get rid of breast cancer. And now I love that Merck and Gilead are working together, doing trials on Trodelvy and Keytruda for triple negative. And it's a great thing because we need to put all these science brains together. Yeah. It's so good. So we have several trials happening for triple negative in that space, which is great. But you don't need to be in the same city. Thank you for that, to do a trial. And we are so happy to help you find a trial. Email me, call me. We'll try to help you find one. So on the website, we actually have 4 trial portals that are so much nicer than clinicaltrials.gov. Like clinicaltrials.gov is like going to hell blindfolded with your hands tied behind your back. So we have 4 portals. Our partners are breastcancertrials.org, and they have a great portal and a matching service. We also partner with Citizen, who they were our first partner in this whole effort to start Black Data Matters, to start this campaign. And they have a trial portal and a matching service. And then our other partner, the TNBC Foundation, Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation, I'm also on their board. So they actually have 2 portals, one for metastatic TNBC and one for early stage TNBC. But hopefully you'll find, a better way to get into the portals that way. But I had a call 2 hours ago today from a woman who, she heard our radio commercial, which was so cool that she heard it. And she said, both my mom and her sister and my aunt died of breast cancer. And I said, well, what do you have? And she said, well, I don't have breast cancer, but I don't want to get it. I want a clinical trial to prevent it. And I wish there was one. But she said that, I said, well, did you have genetic testing? She said, no, I don't have, I had genetic testing. I don't have any mutations, but I want to get into a trial to learn something, because maybe there's something in my body that we can learn from, since my mom and my aunt died of breast cancer. So I said, you know what? I'm going to find you a trial. And I am. I'm going to go find her something, or some kind of research she can participate in, to try to understand what her risks are, and if there's anything she can do to help herself. But, we know you can't prevent breast cancer. Our best protection is early detection, but maybe there's something we can learn from, get more science. And, I'm actually participating in 2 trials right now. I just finished one. That one is about, the stress of being a Black breast cancer survivor. But, I want to walk the walk. I'll participate in trials too, to walk the walk. Since I'm talking the talk, I want to, be a part of it, so I can tell people what it's like, that any and all research is good. And we have to do this work to help each other, to save ourselves. And, Black women are amazing women. We do amazing things. We get presidents voted for. We get, all kinds of legislation made in Congress. So we need to do this and help ourselves with health. So I'm going to play our ad. I hope you can hear this.
Breast cancer is a matter of life and death for Black women, and we have the power to save each other. The When We Trial movement, founded by Black breast cancer survivors, aims to change the reality that current drugs are not working in our Black bodies. To get better drugs, we must advance the science. We must participate in clinical trial research. We cannot afford not to. Join the When We Trial movement at whenwetrial.org. When we trial, we save our sisters. When we trial, we defy the odds.
So cool. What do you think about that? So we're in 10 cities with a pretty robust radio by.
It's awesome. It's great, Ricky.
Thank you. Thank you. And we are trying to get the word out by any means necessary. So, I reach out if you're doing something in your community, an event that you want us to be a part of, we're happy to come out there, give you materials. And, I hate paper because it just goes in the garbage, but we have all kinds of PDFs that you can download to give to people. And you can pull it up on your phone instead of trying to find the piece of paper you lost last week. We are just trying to get the word out, and we're gonna be at Essence Fest this summer. We're gonna be at the Urban League Convention in DC. We're gonna be in Martha's Vineyard when all the black bougie people go to Martha's Vineyard. It's like a thing in Martha's Vineyard in August. And we're putting together a legislative briefing for Congressional Black Caucus in September. And then we're also gonna be doing an event in Houston. I'm not sure when yet. And then 10 cities. We're working with partners all around, and we're trying to partner with other breast cancer organizations and churches, the sororities, the National Council of Negro Women, Jack and Jill, in 10 cities to get this word out. So it's all very exciting and interesting and fun. And we know that so far we've I can tell you, like, I'm looking at our data here.
I just love the approach that you're taking. I've been taking notes, Ricky, as you've been talking, because I love that you're just talking about how you're acknowledging the myths, right? And then you have to dispel the myths. Like, you're taking this approach that is so embedded in the community because that's where it has to start. And then you take that just on tour, on this road tour. And I know you're going to be successful. I can see it. You can really see people gravitating to this kind of presentation on such an important topic. I know that the one question that we had, I don't know if you ever finished answering that. I just wanted to go back to Teresa.
Yeah.
She said, do I need to wait for my current treatment to stop working before I sign up for a trial?
Well, I think that's something you have to talk to your doctor about. I mean, normally they want to see that something is working or not for you. If you get progression, I don't know what stage you are, but often, especially if you're metastatic, they want to be able to track your, how you're doing and complete the cycle of a chemo regimen, and then scan you and see what's next. You know what I mean? But I think, it's not worth not asking. Ask your doctor. And if you need help, and want to get more information about some trials that are happening, we can help you. Call me and we'll try to do our best to help you. We have a great resource. We also, we really are right now in this moment just putting in place a nurse navigation service, and we're partnering again with one of our pharma partners. And so we have, our co-founder Valerie Worthy is a nurse navigator and a breastie. She works at Duke Cancer Center, so she actually is now coaching patients, and we're providing services to some of the pharma partners who are doing trials and providing the service. So guess what? You get coaching from somebody who's totally unbiased. She doesn't work for the pharma company. She doesn't work for the doctor. She doesn't work for the clinician or the center. She works with us, and she's a Black breastie who can talk to you about trials. And she's a nurse. She gets it. She knows all the lingo. She knows what to do, and she'll coach you through helping you find a trial. She'll coach you through how to, fill out that horrible informed consent form that scares people to death. And then if you need help with side effects, how to manage your side effects, and when to call Sue to get Reiki, she'll help, with all the things that you need to get support from an unbiased perspective, from a breastie that's just going to give you love. So we have that as well. So if you want to call her and talk to her, we can make that happen and get more information about what's available to you. Thank you for putting my email in there. Yeah, email me, reach out.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I don't know if you've been following the chat along, just on some of
these
questions.
I should look at it. Yeah.
We'll do it. I know Erin's watching too, and we'll shout them out for you. We didn't want to interrupt you because it's just so fascinating. And I love the direction, like I said, that you're going on, because it's such a grassroots movement that is going to work when you get into all of the other events that are going on. If we're all collaborating together and you're in their community and you tag along and can help them, even with some of the financial, how much it is to put events on, and then all of a sudden have another audience.
Yeah. And we're blessed to have, not a lot of money, but we're happy to help, fund some events and help you definitely bring the resources and I'll try to come and speak if I can, or or Valerie can, and we have a great breasty choir of, breasties who have been through trials. Karen Peterson, I don't know if you know her, so she's awesome. She has, her foundation is called Karen's Club, and Sheila McGlown. And we're also on the website trying to put a lot of video content on, because, you can read the words on a page about what a trial is or how to do an informed consent. But to hear a video, like when I can't figure something out, I go to YouTube. Like, how do I screw this top into this, right? We're trying to make this the YouTube of clinical trials for Black women. So we're actually going to go next week. We're going to shoot, I guess, 4 videos in the next 2 weeks. Sheila's going to do a video on how to fill out an informed consent and what that looks like. Valerie's going to do a video on the basics of just standard of care. And we have some video content now from some of our doctor partners, but we're trying to make it real and alive and update it frequently so you can get more information and get it from a person that looks like you, that sounds like you, that loves on you. And so that's what it's all about. It's all about love. It's all about love. We got to advance the science, and we have to do it with love.
I know Erin put the whenwetrial.org in the chat. So, all of you can go right there, just bookmark that, and just always just get your updates, and of course, following you on social media as well, right? The choir, as you call your social media, the choir.
Yeah, the choir. So all of our social media is at Touch BBCA. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, it's Touch the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. And watch our show. We talk about it every week. We're doing thank you, Sue. We're doing a big show. Harper's barking. We're doing a show about clinical trials. We have a couple of episodes coming up. We're doing an episode on May 11th with Dr. Laura Esterman, the wisdom study. She's doing a lot of clinical trial work. And then we're doing, May 20th is actually Clinical Trials Day. So we're going to celebrate that. I'm not sure how yet, but we actually have, we're hoping to get Congresswoman Robin Kelly on our show for May 18th. She actually just launched a bill into Congress to get diversity into clinical trials. She's the Congresswoman from Chicago. And then, we're doing a roadshow. So I'll tell you the cities. The cities are Atlanta, Baltimore, LA, Chicago, Memphis, Houston, Philly, St. Louis, Raleigh-Durham, DC, and New Orleans. So come hang with us. We'll be posting all those events on our website as they get planned. I know the Memphis event is on May 20th. And then New Orleans is going to be the Essence Fest. We're going to do an event June 30th and July 1st. And we're trying to get out there everywhere. I used to work at Coke. I'm a marketing person. I'm not a scientist. And one of our mantras at Coke, and I worked at Coke, I gave a lot of people cavities and obesity and diabetes. So I'm trying to not do that anymore, right? But our mantra was, we want Coke to be within arm's reach of the consumer. So what does that mean? In your refrigerator, in your house, at the drugstore, at the grocery store, at the gas station, everywhere you go, I want this message to be everywhere a Black woman goes. If I could reach every Black woman voter, I would do that. So that's what we're trying to do.
I love that. And I just want to say, reading Teresa's comments in the chat, I think, Ricky, the message that you send, and you and I talked about this at the Ask the Experts, just sort of encouraging the proactive approach and not waiting for your physician to say, now let's think of a clinical trial, but really taking that from the get-go, having this discussion, seeking things out. Your website makes it so easy to go right to 2 places to start searching clinical trials. Like you said, clinicaltrials.gov gives me a headache, and it's like over.
Oh my God. As soon as you hit I'm
like, I can't look at this. So it's simple, it's straightforward. And I just think advocating for that message of like seeking it out yourself and presenting it to your team, and why can't I do this? And taking that approach, and sort of, I think, that falls into, having Coke at arm's reach. It's like, yes, I am at arm's reach of all of this additional research that I can help drive forward. I think it's so important.
Right. We want to put Black women in the control seat. This is your cancer. This is your disease. This is my boyfriend just bought me a cheeseburger, and Harper's trying to eat. My dog is trying to eat it. Sorry.
Don't let him eat it.
This is your party. This is your show. You're in control of it. And when you have cancer, like you just feel like out of control. And, Black women, we are proud and badasses, and we wear the purple cape and the gold crown, and we take care of everybody. And, all of a sudden we're vulnerable. We're totally vulnerable. And I don't want us to be vulnerable. We want to give them the information they need to feel good and feel like they can command the ship. And clearly we don't know everything, but at least we can ask the questions. We can ask the questions and we can demand for the care. Like, what would you do for your mom? If I were your mom, what would you do for her? And so what would you do differently? And so, demand that care, demand that love, demand that support. And it's almost like, doctor, please take your hand off the doorknob of the room. I'm not done with you yet. It's okay to ask those questions. It's okay to make them stay in the room and talk to you and answer your questions. Our research also shows that, again, the doctors don't offer trials, but also 50% of the women so the women who bring up the trial to the doctor, 50% of them still walk out of the room not feeling equipped and educated with information. So they still, even when they bring it up to the doctor talks about it with them, but they still walk out, and guess what? They go home and tell their mama. And their mama says, well, you're not going to do the clinical trial, you're going to get the sugar pill. And they don't have enough information and confidence in the information to even convince their family and to share the information with their family. So we have a lot of work to do. We want you to know everything you need to know. And if we don't know, if we can't answer the question, we're going to go find it for you and help you find it.
Yeah. I did see a good question from Karen that came in just about volunteer opportunities, and if any for the work that you're doing, or I guess even in some of the different cities that you'll be in, if there are volunteer opportunities, and how could they learn about that?
Yeah, Karen, please call me. Reach out. My breasty, you got cancer so young. No, call me. We'll find something. We actually had a great call yesterday with so this is interesting. We got an email into our When We Trial portal from a woman named Ramona. And so she said, I love what you guys are doing. Can we talk? I'm like, yeah. So we talked. And so she's from Janssen. How do you pronounce Janssen? The J&J Cancer.
Oh, yes. Yes.
You got it.
Yes.
So guess what? They don't make a breast cancer drug. And she heads up their advocacy group, but they want to talk to us because they love When We Trial, because they're saying, well, we can apply this to prostate cancer. We can apply this to anything. But she's in Chicago. She's a breastie. She's metastatic. She heads up their advocacy for oncology. She's a total badass, but she said she's going to hook us up with 2 organizations in Chicago. So as soon as I know that, I can't remember their names now, and she'll say, well, we can help you with that. So we're getting lots of help, and thank you, God, for the support that we're getting. But we would love for you to volunteer and help us, and talk to people in your community. So email me. We'll figure out something. Yeah. No is never the answer. It's always how.
That's right.
Right.
Well, and Teresa had another great question, which I think just lends itself back to why more clinical research needs to be done. Do we know which chemo drugs tend to work better on Black women? That's why we have
Guess what? So
yeah,
we don't know. And so I actually was talking to our Merck friends last week, and I said I was on one of their patient advocate panels, and I said, so you guys, they had 7% Black participation in the Keytruda trials. I did a lot of work with them during the Keytruda. I did a lot of focus with them stuff when Keytruda was in trial. So 7% is better than 3%, but it still sucks, right? Yeah. So I said, now that Keytruda is in the market and it's helping so many women, it's such a great product, such a great drug for us. Are you tracking performance in Black bodies?
Yeah.
Like,
what a great
are you tracking the real world data? So you didn't have a lot in the trial, but now you've got all these women taking it. What's happening? Mm-hmm. What's the story? Yeah. And they said, we are tracking it. Like, okay, well, show me the money. So I don't know. They haven't come back with an answer. I mean, they said they're tracking it, so we'll see. But frankly, we don't have the data. We don't know. And I've asked the same thing of Trodelvy from Gilead, and really, I had the same conversation with Pfizer. Like, I want to see your real world data. I want to see what you're doing to measure the impact on the Black community of these drugs that you're spending a lot of money on ads for. Like, if I see another branch out, I'm going to shoot myself in the head. Is it working for us? I don't know. And but guess what? Black women are dying every day, every day. They're getting diagnosed every day. A lot of women are getting diagnosed every day and dying every day. And that 41% has been 42, 40, 43, whatever, for a while. It hasn't moved the needle, and we have to move the needle. We have to, like, it's, I tell you guys all the time, I work for my grandbabies, and they're 4.5. Yeah, let me see. If I stop my video, you can't see them. Can you see them on if their picture come up? Okay, it comes on my computer. But I work for Belle and Lan Hart, and Belle's gonna get boobs in 10 years. She's 4.5. I gotta get rid of it before she gets boobs. She's my purpose. They're my purpose. And so we got a lot of work to do.
I love what you're doing, Ricky.
I know. I
Thank
think
you.
we're all inspired by you.
Really,
and
very
moving.
inspiring.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
just-
I don't know. I don't really have a choice. I feel like I have to get it. I'll tell you I told you the story. I told on the Ask thing the other day, Aaron. I was in the shower with Belle and Leia, 4.5 and 2.5. And Belle, my grandma name is Debbie. And Belle says, so Debbie, how come you don't have those things on your boobs that baby heart sucks on? Because her mom's nursing her baby sister. And I said, So we had our first real conversation about breast cancer. And so I said, well, those things on my boobs got sick and they made me sick. So we had to cut them off. And then, well, did you bleed? Yeah, I bled. Well, so I explained everything about going to the hospital and having surgery. I basically told her everything except that I was going to die, but I don't want her to talk about it anymore. I don't want her to have to deal with it. I want that to be it.
Yeah.
But so that's why I work. That's what I work for every day. Fight like a girl.
Yeah. I love that.
Thank you, Ricky.
I just have a statement to make. When you talked about the clinical trials and everything, I'm just so in awe because for my last semester in grad school last year, that is what my capstone was on. My 50-page paper was about disparities in breast cancer in Black women. And
Really?
everything that you said is exactly what was in my research. I did 20 women, and everything that they talked about and the research talked about. There is a lot of myths. And one of the things, you mentioned a few things, easy to understand, social media, digital, the digital ad campaign, the biological, molecular, and then the churches and organizations. All those things is what helps us. That's where we are. That's where we tend to be. We tend to go to maybe get information. They said it's a high percentage of African-American women who are on social media. So maybe that's a better way to reach out.
Yeah.
So everything that you talked about is everything that I researched in my paper. So it just goes to show that evidence-based things are so important so that we can further, help our community. So like you say, so our grandchildren don't have to experience the things that we have experienced. So I just want to say, I commend everything you're doing. I didn't even think I would take this direction, even in my career. I'm actually meeting with Dr. Fayandru, who is at the University of Penn.
She's on our medical advisory board.
Yeah,
She helped us do a lot of this work.
Yeah, so her and I are meeting. I don't know what's going to come out of the meeting, but I just asked her, I work for Penn Medicine. So I just asked her, whatever I can do to help, I'm willing to help, whether it's working or volunteering.
That's great. Yeah, she's a badass. But so she actually helped us write a definition of Black breast cancer. I'm going to read it to you. And how come I don't know you, Dr. Tiffany?
Hey, Ricky, Tiffany's going to be in our fashion show that you are attending
Awesome.
on May the 1st.
I've heard you speak plenty of times, Ricky. It's just that I was in school for 2 years, so I didn't have a life.
I hear you.
So now that I'm finished school, I have a life.
That's great. That's great. So we have an incredible medical advisory board, and Dr. Lola, has joined us, and she's so awesome. But I said, we need to write a definition. Like I want like the Wikipedia definition of Black breast cancer. So I'll read it to you. Black breast cancer is the constellation of exposures, experiences, and lack of science for Black women diagnosed with breast cancer that causes Black women to face disproportionately worse breast cancer outcomes.
Wow.
Oh, that's powerful.
Yeah.
So you have to come on our show and share your research.
Yes,
Tiffany
yes.
is wonderful. She is
Great.
wonderful.
Send,
Yes,
can
she
send me
should
her,
be
her,
on there.
her number or email. Okay, come on
Yeah.
our show.
And Tiffany, she'll
talk
get you
about
on that
research.
show. Just she will put you on there, and with a minute to
And you have no
spare, will
choice.
be
Right.
you will have no choice. That's right.
Sure,
Well, thank
sure.
you. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I want to see your research because, we actually are now writing a manuscript of our research. So we haven't really published it. We've published a little bit of the qualitative work, but not the quant, because we're writing a manuscript. So probably going to take a couple of months, but we're going to publish, because I'm on like just a snapshot of the data. We have so much more to share about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I feel like, Erin, we have a nice small enough group that if the ladies did want to unmute themselves, they certainly can, chat. And we have a couple more in the chat, and you can keep on going, Erin. But
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
sure.
Dr. Kennedy, you're in the audience. Like, I would love for you to, talk about what you put in the chat right there. I think it's easy enough.
Well, and I think
Well-
one thing I just want to call out briefly, if I may, is clinical trials aren't necessarily always about medications.
Right.
You and I have talked about other factors that go into
Yeah.
treatment. Karen mentioned looking at peripheral neuropathy and a trial that we may get some good results from in Black women. So it can really be about all facets. So it may not be medication driven if you're on a regimen right now, but Ricky, you've talked about other trials that even you did that have stress and other lifestyle factors. So it really can be more
Be
than just
anything.
about a drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
any science is good. Anything we learn is good, even if it's bad news. It's still good to learn and to try it out. I want to do some research on just the emotional state of daughters of breasties.
Yeah.
And we're going to do a show about that, daughters of breasties, and just have them talk about how you felt. What was your experience like? How are you scared about getting it? What are you doing to because your mom had it? And we know that really only about 5 or maybe 10% of people have BRCA, right?
Yeah.
So and it's very associated with triple negative in white women, and especially women of Ashkenazi Jewish descent. But we're not seeing that with Black women. And guess we don't even know because we don't have the data. But I don't have a genetic mutation, but I'm still really worried about my daughters. Really, I'm fearless. I go paddleboarding on the Chesapeake Bay at 6 a.m. in the dark by myself, and it doesn't bother me. My only fear is my daughter's getting breast cancer and my granddaughters. And so I want to think about that. But anything you can think of that, there's just anything. The sky's the limit in terms of what we need to know about breast cancer in Black women and why it's different. So,
Yeah. Dr. Kennedy, can I have you, share with Ricky what you put in the chat?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's an example of a trial that looked at, it was just published, wasn't published, but it was reported last week, looking at tumor infiltrating lymphocytes in the actual breast tissue. And that's an example of a trial where the patient does give permission, but they don't have to do anything per se or change their treatment. So they looked at tumor infiltrating lymphocytes in triple negative breast cancer. And they noted clearly that if you have a high number of these tumor infiltrating lymphocytes, you have a much better prognosis with triple negative breast cancer. Again, they looked at early stage disease, and they're actually looking at patients who might not even need chemotherapy in the neoadjuvant or adjuvant setting. Yeah. But they did not break it down. Yeah, I did not see a breakdown of race in that particular study. So I'm actually quite interested. I know the person that reported that, so I'm going to go back and try to see if we can dissect that out. They will be presenting it at ASCO in June, so that'll be very interesting to see. But that kind of data, because there is something very unique about African American women with breast cancer and triple negative breast cancer. And these are the kinds of things, these are these clues that we need to know based on either genomic data or things like tumor infiltrating lymphocytes. We need to collect this data and say, what is different about this disease? Why does this disease become refractory? Why do they not do as well? So these are very important studies, and that's where a lot of the concentration can be And
Right.
it's, you know, relatively easy for patients because they basically just have to say, yes, you can use my breast tissue to do these studies. And usually that's, a lot of the institutions will have that up front. What you're
Right.
trying to do is to say to women, this should be offered to you. I
This
mean,
should be offered to you. Right.
you should
This
be able
offered
to
you.
put, you should be able to put your tissue into a data bank so that it can be used to help
Right.
your treatment and other people's treatment.
Yeah.
And
Right.
there's a big void there, and it
Yeah.
needs to be remedied. Yeah, it definitely needs to be remedied. Absolutely. I really appreciate the work you're doing. It's fascinating. And you're like Sue said, it's grassroots work, and that's where it's going to really, really take hold.
I agree.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. And Dr. Kennedy, so Black women get triple negative at 3 times the rate of white women.
Right.
So I read that study. I read an article last week too.
Yeah.
Why is anyone doing research on TNBC and not including Black women in it, or not being able to break the data down? And maybe they have the data, I hope they do, but to me, the research needs to be commensurate with the burden of disease. So a lot of times I'll say, we should, be commensurate with the population. So if Black people represent 13% of US population, they should be 13% of the study. I disagree with that.
Absolutely. In breast cancer, that's an extremely important point.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Burden of disease.
And we've done better because we're looking at, we did have the era of looking at hair to new, and look how much that's evolved into. And then we had the era of looking at BRCA positive, and now we have adjuvant therapy for BRCA positive.
Right.
But triple negative really needs that same approach. It really absolutely. And in Black women, it's extremely important. I mean, I've practiced for 36 years. I mean, my heart is, broken for the number of African-American women that I treated, with triple negative breast cancer, and just shaking my head saying, my God, why do they recur? And I can't do anything about it. Yeah.
And you have this poor breastie that I told you, 37, 3 babies. And the doctor said it wasn't on my list. You just want to shoot yourself in the head. Like
what the Keytruda?
Yeah, like they didn't.
Yeah, that's very worrisome. Yeah, that's not standard of care in my opinion. But I don't want to, obviously I can't make it specific.
Yeah, no, it's not standard of care. It's
not in the last 6 months.
Right.
It was approved July 27th of July 27th, 2021. It was officially approved for neoadjuvant therapy. Yeah.
But it was available before then too, though. You know what I mean? If you're on top of it, we've been getting people into it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I think that, like Dr. Kennedy and Ricky, when you were talking about how, and someone alluded to this in the chat as well, they were just talking about how they've learned more from their girlfriends on Facebook or than they have with their doctors. And can you imagine if your friend with their 3 children didn't know you to bring this more to light, to have her dive back in and ask the questions? And that's where we hear a lot about the culture not wanting to share, and Black women don't want to tell anybody that they're sick, and they don't want to share with, and Latino women, like I actually think women in general too, but we have to share, because when we share, we're going to be able to get answers from each other. And you can filter. I mean, we don't have to take everything in if it doesn't align with your thinking. But boy, you have incredible advocates that you can be talking to right here in the space. And now tonight, boy, you have Ricky's email right there, right to her. She will answer. She will answer.
It's fabulous.
This woman will pick your cell phone and text you. Like, she will do it. And I love her mission. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Dr. Kennedy, thanks for jumping in.
You.
Yeah, Ricky, if you don't know, Dr. Kennedy was on our board for quite a few years and served as one of our advisors. And she always would come to our in-person wellness days and just be so, entrenched in the conversation on integrative care and how important it was for whole patient care. So a strong advocate, and I'm glad you're here tonight, Dr. Kennedy. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me, and great to meet you, Dr. Kennedy.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you.
You have to come on my show too, right?
Well, your show is Which show is
Her
that?
show's amazing.
So we have
Is it
a web
the
series
doctor
called
is
The
in?
Doc.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think one of my patients actually went to college with one of the doctors on that show.
With Dr. Monique
I
Gary,
think
who's my co-host.
I think so, because she was on the show. She spoke and
Oh,
they
really?
did an interview with her. Yeah. It was
Okay,
last
then
year.
Yeah, I probably,
You know who it is.
Okay,
I don't
what's
want to
her name?
say, but I don't want to
Okay.
say because it's a patient, but
Okay.
she was on your show. So I'll just
Okay,
say
great,
Letitia. Letitia,
okay, I know Letitia.
you know Letitia?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just speaking to her last week. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Okay.
wow, that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we
that's
actually had
funny.
we had our
It's funny
2-year
how it's
birthday
full circle.
yesterday.
Yeah,
That's
she
right.
was telling me all
Yeah.
about your podcast. Yeah, it sounds wonderful.
That's great.
I've listened to it. Yeah.
Thank you. We had our 2-year birthday yesterday. It was great. So,
I know. I
So
think it was
pretty
the
cool.
105th episode, right? Or getting
yeah,
up there.
yeah,
Gosh.
yeah.
Oh, so
yeah,
good.
you were on like 102nd or something too, right? A couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love
a
it.
lot of
No,
fun.
we feel so blessed to be able to have it, and it wouldn't have happened if it weren't for COVID. Probably, when can you talk to 5,000 women at one time, right? So
I know. We
but-
talked about
Is
that
that
on the show
interesting?
even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but we
And
have
I know, Ricky, like for Unite for Her, we're so grateful to you. I was joking early on, but truly you were my first call when we decided to expand Unite for Her nationwide. And we knew we wanted to prioritize our women of color first because of all the statistics that you just said. And you were just right there welcoming us with open arms and helping us bridge our gaps and really trying to get us to the right people so we can get into the communities. And the last show that I was on for The Doctor Is In that 24-hour period, we had, I think, 41 Black women sign up for our program. That's extraordinary. We don't have
Wow.
that, we don't, of 60 women that signed up, 41 of them were Black women. That's odd for us,
Wow.
right? Like we want those statistics. That's what we're looking for when we're prioritizing as we're reaching across the nation. And you've helped us get that. So thank you. I really
we'll get
appreciate
more.
it.
Actually, Dr. Melissa came.
Oh, beautiful. Let's get her front and center. Let's see where you are,
Yeah.
Melissa.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I've had a rough travel day. I
Please
had to
don't worry.
reschedule my flight yesterday. I'm coming at 8. So just at the hotel.
No
And
worries.
I love the wonderful things you just said about how Ricky has helped facilitate getting our precious women trial.
Yeah, well, Dr. Davis, if you have anything that you want to share, I know, you don't need to be on photo at all, or there
There
you
she
go.
is.
Oh,
Okay.
hi there. How are you? Nice to
A
see you.
little happy, I guess.
Not to worry, but if you have
Uh,
anything, we're just closing our session out. We had such a really robust conversation, with Ricky. Really learned a
Great.
lot. But I know that, she was just so excited to hear your perspective as well tonight. She obviously hears your perspective all the time, but we were excited
Yeah.
to hear your
But
perspective.
she helped us so much. She helped us so much explaining things as we developed the research and like how to talk to breasties. We couldn't have done it without her. She's our godsend. And she's such a
Aw.
brainiac.
Yeah,
Love you
Dr.
to death,
Davis, do you want to
Dr.
introduce
Melissa.
yourself to our community and just say a few words? I don't know if you can hear me okay.
It looks like she's having a little technical trouble.
She
Yeah.
might be.
Well, she's at Will Cornell and she's doing amazing work in TNBC
Yeah.
and finding all kinds of genetic things and just doing
And
work
bringing
to
down the
figure out
standard of care
why
of
we get
clinical
it.
trials, right? Like I know you had said she just
Yeah.
able to explain the standard of care for clinical
Yes,
trials
explains it so well.
beautifully.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's so important because I
Yeah.
get lost, and we're in this
Yeah.
community, and you just get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She explains it, so that she helped us figure out how to teach it to people, and like helped us make the videos and stuff. So she's
Yeah.
awesome. She's awesome. I'm
Sure.
sure she's traveling somewhere. She's always on the
Yeah,
road.
I know.
I know.
I
I
think
said, I know I think they do like a trip to Ghana every year.
Oh.
And I know, last years they couldn't go. So I said, I'm going the next time with you. I want to go and meet the women.
yeah,
They have a hospital
sure.
there. They're really doing great work and they're finding genetic mutations for triple negative in Black women that we don't know about.
in Ghana.
So you're saving my daughters.
Yep. Yep.
You're saving my daughters.
Aw.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
Well, Ricky, thank you. I saw
Yeah.
Dr. Davis said she had a bad connection, so, no worries there. And
It's
just
okay,
thank you
Melissa.
so
Yeah,
much.
don't worry, Dr.
Yeah, we'll do
Melissa.
it again, Dr. Davis. We will do it
Yeah.
again for sure. And while Cornell is a partner
Yeah.
of ours, we're recruiting there. That was another incredible partnership where, we ended up having 75% of our women were women of color that we recruited. That is what we're, looking for, to get these lucrative partnerships so we can get more women in our integrative care program to help them do better, So we're
Great.
grateful for you.
So
We're
great.
grateful for all this work, incredible work that you're doing here. And we're going to follow you. I am going on that road tour. You're in Philadelphia. We're coming. Erin and I are going to be there. Philly.
Yeah, she's actually in New York. But she's awesome. Let's
Yeah.
all go to Ghana, right? Let's all go.
Definitely.
Yeah. Oh, so good. All right, Ricky, do you have anything else?
Thanks,
to
you
close us out?
guys. No, go to our website, join our movement, check the breasts that you love. I know you have a pair, and